disappointment has now defined In the news, Senate confirms Bawa appointment as EFCC chairman. Akeredolu sworn in for second term as Ondo State governor. Across Africa, Ghana is first the nation in the world to receive COVAX COVID-19 vaccines. And on the international scene, Alexa Navalny stripped of prisoner of conscience status by Amnesty International. In business, Angola targets 60% electrification by 2025. And in sports, Tiger Woods awake and responsive following surgery after car crash. Details shortly. Hello, welcome to your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television. I'm Musa Zeh Isesele, and you're watching TOS News 360. The Senate has confirmed Abdul Rashid Bawa as the substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The confirmation was done after a screening, which lasted for over 2 hours. The screening exercise was done in plenary and was presided over by the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan. Bawa was grilled by senators with about 15 lawmakers asking him questions that range from his past experiences, relationship with his predecessors, as well as his plans for the new position he has been appointed for. During the exercise, he denied the allegation of selling recovered properties while heading the EFCC's Port Harcourt office and said he has a good relationship with his predecessors. Bawa will become the youngest man to head the EFCC and the first EFCC chairperson not to have been a police officer. Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu SAN has changed his strategy for
Oluwarotimi Odunwayo Akeredolu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
He said the new strategy Christine redeemed was necessitated by the dynamics that changed the landscape during his first term in office. The new strategy, he said, would cater for the key areas necessary to accelerate the development of the state. Akeredolu disclosed this in his inauguration speech at the International Culture and Events Center, Akure, after he and his deputy, Lucky Ayedatiwa, were sworn in by the Chief Judge of the state, Justice A.A. Akeredolu. He explained redeemed to mean rural and agricultural development, education advancement, and human capital development, development through massive infrastructure and efficient service delivery and policy implementation. A civil society organization under the auspices of Global Rights Initiative in its annual mass atrocities tracking report for the year 2020 said Nigeria needs urgent intervention for peace and stability to be restored in the country. According to the report presented by the Group Executive Director Abiodun Bayiwu in the nation's capital city Abuja on Monday, said that at least 4,556 persons lost their lives in the year 2020 as a result of violent attacks, clashes, terrorism, kidnappings, and extrajudicial killings. TOS TV Rose Aldo has the details.
Presenting the 2020 casualties report of Global Rights Initiative, the Executive Director Abiodun Bayiwu said the states with highest number of fatalities were Borno and Kaduna states.
A tracking of mass atrocities across Nigeria for 2020 indicated through casualties of violent attacks, clashes, terrorism, kidnapping, and extrajudicial killings informs that at least 4,556,000 lives were lost. 4,556 lives were lost between January and December 2020, which is a glaring spike of almost 43% of the number of casualties in 2019. 2019 had a figure of at least 3,188.
She further notes that the projection for peace in Nigeria remains bleak as the country is continuously faced with inherent fears, corruption, and disregard for the rule of law.
This is the time to pull our acts together as a country, not just the government, not just the federal government, but every single Nigerian. That we're all vulnerable should become obvious. That you send a few police officers to communities unequipped to really face, and the report mentions this in part, to really face and confront the threats with which we are faced is a really big problem.
Speaking exclusively to TOS News, Ario Dare Atoye said the report finding is not an attack on the president or the government.
This is the time for the House of Representatives, the joint session of the National Assembly, to renew a call on the president to address Nigeria about this growing insecurity.
Meanwhile, Lois Alta stated that as a result of the rising insecurities in the country, persons with disability are the most hit.
Due to insecurity, the numbers of persons with disabilities have been added. Some lost their legs, some their eyes, some their ears, and so on. So persons with disabilities are not left out. In fact, we are the most vulnerable.
The group believes that in order for peace to be restored in the country, the rights of women, children, and physically challenged persons must be respected. Rose Audu, reporting for TOS News.
The 7 personnel of the Nigerian Air Force who died in last Sunday's plane crash in Abuja will be buried on Thursday at the National Cemetery in Abuja. A NAF aircraft crashed on Sunday afternoon as a result of engine failure. Further investigations into the remote and immediate cause of the crash have commenced. This is your digital first Pan-African network, TOS Television. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next is developments across Africa after the break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. Across Africa, Ghana has become the first country to receive coronavirus vaccines through the COVAX Vaccine Sharing Initiative. A delivery of 600,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine arrived in Accra on Wednesday. Vaccinations are expected to start in Ghana next week. Health workers, those over 6,000, health workers, those over 60 people with underlying health conditions and senior officials are due to be prioritized according to Ghana's Health Ministry. The COVAX scheme aims to reduce the divide between rich countries and poorer nations unable to buy doses. The program is planning to deliver about 2 billion vaccine doses globally by the end of the year. Ghana was chosen as the first recipient after promising quick distribution. The vaccines delivered to the Ghanaian capital were produced by the Serum Institute of India. The AstraZeneca vaccine developed with Oxford University has been approved by the World Health Organization. The West African country with a population of 30 million has recorded more than 80,700 cases of coronavirus and 580 deaths since the pandemic began. Now in politics, protests erupted in Niger on Wednesday with tires set alight and opposition supporters facing off with police as opposition candidate Mahaman Usman claimed victory in Sunday's presidential election. It comes despite the National Election Commission announcing that he lost with more than 11 percentage points to his rival and ruling party candidate Mohamed Bazoum a day earlier. Bazoum, a 61-year-old former interior minister, won just over 55% of the vote in Sunday's election runoff, according to the Electoral Commission. He beat Mahaman Usman 7-1, a former president who was toppled by a coup in 1996, who took 44% of the vote. The provisional results must still be confirmed by the Constitutional Court. The vote is supposed to usher in Niger's first transition from one democratically elected leader to another after President Mahamadou Issoufou announced he was stepping down after 2 5-year terms. Across the international scene, Amnesty International has stripped the Russian opposition politician Alexei Navalny of his prisoner of conscience status after it says it was bombarded with complaints highlighting xenophobic comments that he made in the past and not renounced. On review, Amnesty International concluded that comments made by Navalny some 15 years ago, including the video which appears to compare immigrants to cockroaches, amounted to hate speech which was incompatible with the label prisoner of conscience. Alexei Navalny, who was almost killed in a nerve agent attack last year, is now serving a prison sentence widely seen as punishment for his opposition activism and big splash investigations into the corrupt lives of Russia's rich and powerful. This is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS Television. You are watching TOS News 360. Up next is business and sports. Thank you for staying tuned. Now in business, Angola is seeking to increase the share of its population with access to electricity. The Southern African country is looking to create a 60% electricity access rate by 2025. France and the World Bank have underwritten 344 million euros to help connect the provinces of Benguela, Huambo, Hula, and Luanda to the international grid. The beneficiaries of the project include households, industries, businesses, and small to medium-sized enterprises in Angola with the aim of increasing access to cheaper, more reliable, and sustainable electricity. Under the plan, the government will create 3 separate agencies responsible for generation, transmission, and distribution. The move is aimed at eliminating waste and to achieve efficiency. Now moving on to sports, golf legend Tiger Woods is awake and recovering from surgery, according to a statement posted early Wednesday on his official Twitter account. Woods, who was involved in a serious car accident on Tuesday near Los Angeles, is responsive and recovering in his hospital room, the statement said. Woods suffered serious leg injuries and was trapped but conscious when emergency responders reached the scene of his one-vehicle rollover crash on a stretch of California road known for speeding and accidents, authorities said on Tuesday. A Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy, who was the first to arrive, said he found Woods still in the driver's seat wearing a seatbelt and that the golfer was able to tell him his name was Tiger. Nigeria coach Gernot Rohr has alleviated fears over the fitness of Victor Osimhen after the striker was knocked unconscious during the final minutes of Sunday's Italian Serie A match at Atalanta. The 22-year-old was stretched off the pitch and rushed to the hospital in northern Italy after he fell awkwardly and hit his head on the ground following a collision with Atalanta defender Christian Romero. After spending the night under observation and undergone multiple tests, Osimhen returned to Naples on Monday. Rohr, who is expected to name him in his squad for next month's crucial final 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, is hopeful he will return to action soon. He said Victor told him that he's physically and mentally okay, but must wait for the club doctors. Nigeria, who were third at the last Nations Cup in Egypt, will need 2 points from their final qualifiers at home to Benin and the way to Lesotho to confirm a spot at the next tournament in Cameroon. And that is TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. Do follow and like TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. Do stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS TV. I am Osazeh Isesele. Thank you very much for watching.